First this evening, it's not looking good for the opposition People's National Party PNP and its leader, which are both being perceived in a negative light.
TVJ's Andrea Chisholm joins us live with the latest from the RGR Gleaner Group Don Anderson polls. Andrea?
Thank you very much, Archibald and Doreen. Well, tonight it's a double negative for the opposition People's National Party after 2 years in opposition. So who is the best performing opposition spokesperson and who is the worst performing? Let's take a look.
2017 was a very active year and a productive year and a positive year for the People's National Party.
PNP President and Opposition Leader Dr. Peter Phillips in January giving his report card at a meeting in Clarendon. Last year, a number of changes were made to the top brass of the party. But when pollster Don Anderson sought feedback on the performance of the opposition since 2016,
the numbers are not looking very good for the People's National Party.
56% of those interviewed gave a negative rating of the party's performance. 27% said it was average, while a total of 17% said the party's performance was positive. Now to the opposition leader himself.
The opposition leader, Peter Phillips, in fact, doesn't get a good rating at all. 60% overall rated the performance of the opposition leader negative, as against 16% who rated it positive.
The breakdown: 33% said Dr. Peter Phillips's performance was very poor, 27% said it was poor, 24% thought it average, 10% said very good, and 6% good.
The gap is actually wider on the performance of the leader of the opposition than it is on the party. So the conclusion that we want to pull between those two is that the PNP party is better rated, better perceived than its leader.
Moving on to the list of opposition spokespersons.
Mr. Speaker, on a matter of principle, Mr. Speaker.
Fitz Jackson, who shadows national security and has been tackling high bank fees, was the best performing opposition spokesperson with 24%. Second went to Senator Damian Crawford, who shadows youth and culture, and the third best performing opposition spokesperson was Lisa Hanna. She has responsibility for foreign affairs and foreign trade. Peter Bunting, Mark Golding, and Julian Robinson rounded off the top 6 best performers. Now to the other end of the spectrum, the worst performing shadow minister. Topping that list, Lisa Hanna. Interestingly though, she was the third best performer. So, how come?
But when the base numbers are small, this kind of situation is always likely to occur where you have a positive of 17% and you have a negative of 16% because they're all calculated out of a percentage of 100.
The second worst performer was Peter Bunting, who shadows industry, investment and competitiveness. He was followed by Damian Crawford, who was also the second best performer at 9%. Rounding off the top 6 worst performers, Angela Brown-Burke, who speaks on local government, Philip Paulwell, who shadows mining and energy, and Noel Arscott, who is the opposition spokesperson on community development and social transformation. So, what's the poll saying for the opposition PNP in general?
We don't expect the opposition to be talking on anything just for the sake of opposing. But the general feeling is that the opposition is really just as organized and as visible and as vibrant as it ought to be. It's the old perception that they have of the opposition at this time.
And
Pollster Don Anderson there summarizing the views of Jamaicans on the opposition PNP. And of course, the poll was done between February 22 and February 26. A total of 1,070 persons were interviewed. And the poll has a margin of error of plus or minus 3%. Now, we're not quite through with the findings yet. Come tomorrow, we're going to zero in on the opposition. Well, the government, of course. Tomorrow we'll be talking about the government. We're going to be looking at the performance of the Prime Minister and who is the best and worst performing government minister. Doreen, it's back to you.
Thank you very much, Andrea.